Hello and welcome to the Terminology Leading Practices stream of the SNOMED CT Expo 2021. My name is Kelly Carew. I'm the Chief Communications Officer at SNOMED International, and I'm very pleased to be introducing today's session. As a reminder, please use the live Q&A in your AirTouch device to type your questions to the presenters, and all questions will be addressed at the conclusion of the presentation. I'm now pleased to introduce Kai-Lin Loy, Terminologist at Australia's CSIRO, and Linda Bird, Implementation Support Lead at SNOMED International. Kai-Lin and Linda will be presenting Snap to SNOMED, developing a simple mapping tool for the SNOMED community. Linda, over to you.
Thanks, Kelly. And hi, everyone. Kai-Lin and I would like to tell you about a mapping tool that we're developing for the SNOMED community called Snap to SNOMED. I'm going to start by giving a short introduction, and then Kai-Lin will take over and explain the team's agile development process. And then she'll give you a demonstration of the tool's main features, and we'll finish by explaining the next steps. So first, I'll give you a brief introduction as to where and why we're developing the Snap to SNOMED tool. SNOMED International as an organisation is obviously very committed to supporting the adoption of SNOMED CT in national, regional and local implementations. And one of the activities that's required in many of these implementations is to map existing codes to SNOMED CT to support its adoption. So with this in mind, SNOMED International has commissioned CSIRO in Australia to develop a tool for mapping other code systems to SNOMED CT. Healthcare implementations need to map to SNOMED CT for a wide range of reasons, including to support data interoperability and data integration using SNOMED as a common language or a common reference terminology. Mapping can support migrating an old system to SNOMED CT. It can be used to enable data analytics over existing data to take advantage of SNOMED's hierarchies and its description logic-based definitions. It can help to support data validation, quality control, and clinical audit. And mapping can also be used to identify gaps in SNOMED CT that may require additional concepts or descriptions to be added for a particular clinical use case. So the vision of the Snap to SNOMED tool is to support the implementation of SNOMED CT by enabling users to collaboratively create and maintain simple maps to SNOMED CT using a guided approach. The product features that we originally planned for this tool include the ability to create simple maps to SNOMED CT, being online and easily accessible, with collaborative workflow features, automated mapping support, and a map review process. We need a high-quality user interface for working with SNOMED CT effectively, to support the maintenance of maps, the ability to import a variety of different code sets and existing maps, the ability to export the maps that are developed into useful formats, and an audit trail to track the mapping activity within the tool. So the team that we put together to develop Snap to SNOMED includes staff from SNOMED International. We serve as the product owner to gather input from the users and help to prioritize the features for implementation. The Mapping Tool User Group, or MTUG for short, has representatives from at least 15 different countries, and they've done a wonderful job helping us to provide use cases and requirements, helping to test the tool and provide feedback. And last but not least, CSIRO in Australia has provided the implementation team, and they're doing a fantastic job at clarifying the requirement details and developing the software itself. So this project started around March of this year with a discovery phase where we developed the product vision, the epics and user stories, features, summaries, and high-level architecture. And then in May this year, the software development began using an agile process that Kai-Lin will explain shortly. And then the plan is to deliver the minimum viable product with as many additional features from the requirements we've gathered as time permits before the end of the year, with the goal of making the mapping tool available to the community at the start of next year. And now over to Carlene.
Thanks, Linda. So we've worked with the community to understand what the requirements would be for the new mapping tool, but where do we start? We decided to use Agile, which is an iterative approach to software development, where the team delivers work in small but consumable increments. During this Agile process, during this process, requirements are gathered and then continually refined and evaluated with feedback from users. Agile focuses on delivering features to incrementally build out a product which can deliver value as early as possible. For example, if we were building a car, rather than thinking about the individual pieces that make up a car, 4 wheels, a car body, a steering wheel, we are thinking about the features that the user desires, something that can move, can be steered, something that begins to move faster, has a motor, and then we end up finally with a car. Part of this process is finding a minimum viable product, a version of the product which has enough functionality to be useful. So our MVP was a tool that would allow users to produce a map from start to finish through a foundation collaborative process. And this would build a solid foundation for additional features to be added. One thing that was particularly important during the process was finding the balance between user requirements. We learned early on that there were many different users with different organizational roles, different sized teams, different workflows, and different business processes. So it was important to allow a flexible workflow, but also provide an intuitive design which didn't require users to customize a bunch of things before they could even start. Our development process consisted of 2-week sprints with a small team of software developers and terminologists who have SNOMED and mapping experience. During the development process, we had regular demonstrations with the SNOMED International team, as well as the mapping tool user group, which allowed us to clarify requirements and collect regular feedback to inform our processes. For Snap to SNOMED, we are using an Angular single-page application for the user interface. The service layer is a Spring Boot application packaged as a Docker container. For the terminology server, we are currently using our own Onto server with plans to make it compatible with SI's Snowstorm. It's hosted on AWS using serverless technologies, using CloudFront CDN, Aurora MySQL, Fargate, S3, and Terraform. So where we are now, we have a tool that is able to create simple maps to SNOMED, which is to be deployed at the end of the year. It has a collaborative workflow features with some map automation support and a review process, and I will show these in the demo. Importing of existing maps and map maintenance is not yet supported. So now the demo.
So here's the front page of Snap to SNOMED after you log in. You can see here that I'm logged in, and here is a list of all the map projects that have been created in the tool. Each map project has an indicator of the users who have membership, and you can see that I do not have access to the projects that I do not have membership to. So the first thing we will do is create a new map. So I just need to click the Create Map button. I will give the map a name and a version. I can also optionally put in a description. I then need to specify a source code set. I can select one that has been uploaded previously by selecting from the drop-down, or I can click the plus button to upload a new one. At the moment, Snap to SNOMED allows you to upload 2 columns of data, code and term, but if you only have a single column of terms, Snap to SNOMED can generate an identifying code for you. It accepts CSV and TSV files and allows you to define the delimiter. Once you've specified whether you have a header and which columns are which, you can hit save and it will upload the source. Snap to SNOMED is connected to a FHIR terminology server, so I can select the target from the SNOMED CT versions available in the server. You can see here that this FHIR terminology server has a number of different SNOMED versions available, so I'll just select one now. I can specify the scope of the target with an ECL expression. At the moment, it'll accept a string, but in the future we would like to include an ECL builder to make it easier for users to generate any ECL expression they require. So here I will just paste an ECL expression in to limit the scope to descendants of clinical finding. I can also give other users a role in this map project. The different roles within a map project determines the level of access and functions that a user is able to do within that project. So for this project, I will give one other user an owner role and one other user a member role. Once that's done, the map project will be created and my source terms uploaded. From here, I can start mapping. Snap to SNOMED uses assigned tasks to manage workflow for both authoring and reviewing. As a map owner, I can assign tasks to anyone with membership to the group to author or review a selection of rows. The tool will auto-generate a name for the task, or I can create my own name so that I can easily identify my task. There is a filter and sort function available on the table to allow me to group rows easily so I can create tasks to suit my business processes. To show you the process of mapping and reviewing, I'll just go to another map project. You can see here that I have two different tasks assigned to me, an author task and a review task. To begin authoring, I just need to select my author task and it will take me to the task view. Here you can see a search panel on the left, taxonomy view panel in the middle, and on the right is the target properties. In the table at the bottom are the source terms associated with this task. From this page, I can search for terms and drag and drop them in the table. So for limb joint pain, I can start typing into my search panel. If I select a concept, it will show the taxonomy around the concept in the middle panel and other information about the concept on the rightmost panel. There are two taxonomy views available to you. This view here shows SNOMED in a vertical tree style view, where the parents and children are shown in a vertical configuration. You can explore the tree by clicking on the arrows to open up or down the tree. If you click on the toggle button, there is a horizontal hierarchy view, which displays the hierarchy in a horizontal configuration, which is designed to show a view of the concept's polyhierarchy, including ancestors and descendants. To explore the hierarchy, you can click on concepts to refocus. Once I've decided which concept I wanted, I can drag and drop the concept into my table, specify what the relationship is, and then change the status to mapped if I wish to. So I can go through this table and one by one search, then drag and drop the concept into the table. I can drag and drop from the search pane and also from the vertical tree view. Drag and drop does not work on the horizontal tree view, but you can drag and drop from the target property table. Another way to do mapping is to click on the button here to open a detailed view of the source term. This detailed view shows one source term at a time. It allows you to scroll backwards and forwards through the source terms in your task. The search panel on the left gives you the same search functionality that is available on the task view, and the source term is pre-filled for your convenience. It is easily cleared as well. The tool will give you some automated suggestions, which uses a different search algorithm to that in the search panel. Selecting a concept will show it in the taxonomy panel and in the target properties on the far right. When I've picked the concept I want, I can drag and drop it to the third panel to the appropriate relationship type. Here, I can map one source term to multiple targets with different relationships by dragging and dropping as many concepts as I want into the panel. I can also select a concept and then click the plus button to add it. If I change my mind, I can move the concepts around, or I can remove them using the minus button. I can change the status of the mapping by clicking the toggle and then clicking next. This way, I can work through them one by one until complete. I can get back to my task view by clicking the X here or clicking out. Another feature available in the task view is the automap feature. This feature will attempt to give one match for all source terms that have an unmapped status. The quality of the match will be very much dependent on the quality of the source term and how well it aligns with content within SNOMED. For example, source terms relating to a very well standardized area, such as anatomical body sites or organisms, will give very good results, but the same quality of matching may not occur with diseases where there is a lot of shorthand or abbreviations. To use the automap, I just need to click the Run Automap button and we can see it running. Once it's complete, we are given a snapshot of the result. You can see the rows are now populated with SNOMED codes. Where the automap has not been able to find a match, it has left the target space blank. The automap will default all of the matches to inexact, and the user will need to go through and assign the relationship types to each row. Again, the user can do this by doing it from this page here, clicking on the target to look at the details of the concept, and changing the relationship type, or searching for alternatives. and dragging and dropping them to overwrite what the AutoMap has inserted. Alternatively, I can go to the detailed view and do the same thing. Look at the details of the concept, change the relationship type by dragging it around, adding additional targets, or removing them completely. There is also a bulk change feature which you can access from the task view, which allows users to change the relationships, mark or unmark as having no map, or clear the target codes from selected rows. What a user is able to do is bound by the task type. For example, a user cannot mark rows as accepted or rejected from an author task, as well as the starting state of the map row. If there is no target specified, I won't be able to change it to mapped. So here I might choose to change all of the status to map. And if some of these rows do not yet have a target specified, the tool will let me know how many are changed. So moving to reviewing, as an author works through each row and changes them to a mapped state, they can then be reviewed. To do this, a user needs to have a review task assigned to them. Here I have a review task assigned to me, so I'll just open it now. Here you can see the review screen, which is very much like the author screen, but with slightly different functions. Just like the author screen, I have a search panel, a taxonomy view, and a target properties table. The table at the bottom contains the rows that have been assigned to me to review. Unlike the author screen, I can't change any of the targets, though I can look at the targets in the taxonomy view by clicking on them. I can change the status to in review to stop any changes to the row, or I can just accept or reject the mapping. While you can review from the table, it may be easier to review from the detailed review screen that can be accessed by clicking the actions icon. Again, it is very much like the author screen, but the targets are not editable, and instead I can accept or reject a mapping of the source term. I can also flag where there might be issues. I can leave notes for the author to read, and then I can easily flick to the next term using the next buttons. I can also do a bulk change for all or just selected rows, so I can choose to mark all these as accepted. The tool will also currently allow you to export your map as CSV, TSV, or Excel format. You can do this from the map view and then clicking the export button.
So for next steps. So in terms of next steps, we are continuing to develop Snap to SNOMED until December. In that time, we will continue to have our 4 weekly user group meetings to provide them updates and get feedback. During these 2 months, we will be focusing on including maintenance features, that is creating a new version of a map and updating its source and target versions, and making Snap to SNOMED ready for deployment in January 2022. Snap to SNOMED will be released under an open source license. There are still a number of things in the backlog that will not make the January release, including support for dual independent authoring and reviewing, enhancements to the UI, enhancements to workflow, and improved export functionality. These are under consideration by SNOMED International at this point in time. So just to wrap up, a really big thank you to the Mapping Tool user group for continuing to participate in our meetings. Their inputs have been invaluable. Also, thank you to Rory and Linda from SNOMED International, who have been great to work with. And last but not least, thank you to the team here at CSIRO who've been working on this tool for the year so far. Also, we do have a virtual booth here at the Expo, so please come find us there to have a chat. Thank you.
Kyla and Linda, thank you so much for delivering such an excellent presentation and demonstration. Now to the fun part, the questions. If I can ask the audience to hang tight for a moment as we switch over to the live question and answer part of the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Carlin, for an excellent presentation. Certainly lots going on there. We've got a few questions now that have come through in the live Q&A, some really good comments. So if you'll just bear with us, then we'll get through these questions before the end of the session. So first of all, from Erin. Erin says this will be an absolute game changer for us. It's so exciting. So that's a good start. Mikhail, which export? Let's look it up there. Sorry, Erin again. Is this for mapping between SNOMED versions only or other ontologies?
So the current scope of it is for
any code system that you wish to upload to SNOMED, and the versions of SNOMED that are available in the terminology server. So that's the current scope. I do know we're talking to SNOMED International about expanding the scope, but I think we'll have more information about that in the future. I don't know, Linda, if there's anything else you wanted to add.
I think that covers it. Yeah. So any of those code systems that you mentioned, Erin, ReadCode, CTV3, ICD, etc., they can be loaded into the tool, and then you choose your SNOMED edition that you want to map to as the target, and it's from that other code system to a particular SNOMED edition target.
Thank you. Vadim asks, are keyboard shortcuts supported to help you work quicker? And will the application work on smaller screen sizes as well?
So in terms of the keyboard shortcuts, not yet. We're still working on that. We definitely want to look at accessibility. So we'll be looking at things like that over the next few months. In terms of smaller screens, we haven't really optimized it for that. We kind of expect that people, when they're doing mapping, are tending to do it on a full screen at the smallest laptop screen. We probably do need to have a look at it a little bit more, but it's probably not a priority at this point.
Okay, thank you. Kristen says, great work. What is the functionality behind the auto map, lexical map with FSN? That's a question, really. Lexical map with FSN. What's the functionality behind the auto map?
So the auto map currently hits the terminology server, and it checks. So currently the AutoMap function does use some of OntoServer's functionality, but it can work with other terminology servers as well. It does search across not just the FSNs, but all of the synonyms to look for a reasonable match. I think that's what they're asking.
Yeah. George asks, how much disk space does the tool require?
So the tool will be available as an online, like in your browser. So it shouldn't require much at all.
A question from Charles here, who says, what a cool tool. What kind of people do you think will use the tool?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We asked the mapping tooling user group who kind of does mapping in their organization or who they thought would use it. And we tried to make a tool that kind of would fit as many people as possible, whether it's a business analyst, a pharmacist, a clinician, anyone. So I guess the idea is anyone who has to do mapping work. And it sounds like, these are small teams of people, whoever might be required within their business. So it could be anyone, and would be happy to hear feedback if there's particular use cases that people have.
Yeah,
the question
if I could just add to that, the idea is to make the tool available to all implementers, and to do an effective mapping. An implementation team obviously needs to have domain experts who understand the meaning of the codes they're mapping from and the codes they're mapping to, and some background in terms of understanding the terminology or the code systems being mapped from and to. So hopefully people involved in the mapping process have that knowledge in order to do an accurate mapping, but that really is up to the implementation team.
So I was just going to ask, so it's not just aimed at the NRCs then, it's available to other organisations from member countries? Yes,
that's the plan.
Another comment from Irene, which says, as a clinical informatician, I'm the chief mapper in our organisation with other clinicians reviewing. So that's who she is, where she's coming from, and is obviously impressed with the tool. Vadim, would it be possible to host your own version of the tool?
Yeah, we intend to make this open source under an Apache license. So yes.
I'm just looking at some of these questions that have been asked now. I think you've responded to.
I think Mikhail's asked about which export formats. At the moment, it's just CSV and TSV and Excel.
And I see a question from Christelle about, will there also be a feature to map to post-coordinated expressions? Do you want to take that, Colleen? Or?
Yeah, sure. So currently,
Not by the end of the year. It's on our backlog, and I think it's something that we need to understand a little bit better what the requirements are. So if you have strong requirements about that, we're happy to hear from you, please.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what your requirements are around that, Christelle. Thank you.
A comment from Ken Ling, very exciting. What is your advice on how to start using it?
Well, as luck would have it, we're also planning on developing some mapping guidance to go with the tool. The mapping guidance will hopefully be available next year, and that will help to guide you through using the tool and also best practice principles for developing maps. Did you want to add to that, Kylene?
No, but I think for me, it's just get straight into it. It's available right at the moment. If you just want to have a play, it is in development, so it will change. But you can just go to the website and just have a look. Just be aware that it is a public environment, so it is still under development. So don't put any things that you don't want people to see up there.
So Vadim says now, how long do you plan to support development of the tool for? It's amazing already, and I'd love to see more features in it.
We'd love to get feedback from everyone as to what features they'd like in the tool. And then SNOMED International will be planning and considering what the next steps are in terms of developing the tool. But we would love to know what people's requirements are and extra features that you'd like. So please let us know. Please get in contact with us and let us know what features you'd like added.
So Sander, who's obviously had sight of this before, says, amazing progress compared to the earlier versions you showed me. Very excited to see where this leads. So obviously there's a lot of interest out there.
And Vadim, the link is snap2snomed.app. So if you wanted to go check it out.
Okay, so I think that concludes all the live questions that have come through. Linda or Kylene, have you got anything else that you'd like to add?
No, other than please get on to snap2snomed.app and have a play with the tool while it's in demo mode and send us some feedback and any suggestions you have, and we'll do our best to get as many features incorporated as possible and then plan out what the next steps for the tool are from there. So thank you for that.
Okay, on that note, then I think we'll conclude this session. Thank you very much to all attendees, and thank you very much to both Linda and Kylene for an excellent presentation. Thank you.